A Course in Miracles, the Complete and Annotated Edition, Chapter 1, Introduction. This is a Course in Miracles. This is a required course. Only the time you take this course is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. Free will means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. This course does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. This course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Volume 1, Text. The Principles of Miracles. You will see miracles through your hands, through me. The first principle of miracles is that there is no order of difficulty among miracles. One miracle is not harder or bigger than another miracle. All miracles are the same. 2. Miracles in themselves do not matter. Miracles in themselves are quite unimportant. 3. Miracles occur naturally as expressions of love. The real miracle is the love that inspires miracles. In this sense, everything that comes from love is a miracle. This explains miracles' lack of order. All expressions of love are maximal. This also explains why miracles in themselves don't matter. The only thing that matters is the source of the miracles, and the source of the miracles is far beyond human evaluation. Please read these 3 principles as often as you can today, as if there were going to be a quiz this evening. This is merely to introduce structure if it is needed. It is not to frighten you. Do not feel guilty if you are doubting these principles. Just reread them, and their truth will come to you. My strength will support you, so don't worry and leave the rest to me. Principle number 4. All miracles mean life, and God is the giver of life. God will direct you very specifically. The phrase "plan ahead" is good advice in this world, where you should and must control and direct, where you have accepted responsibility. But the universal plan is in more appropriate hands. You will know all you need to know. Make no attempts to plan ahead in this respect. 4. Miracles are habits, and miracles should be involuntary. Otherwise, miracles may become undemocratic. Selective miracles are dangerous, and selective miracles may destroy the talent. Miracle principle number 5. Miracles are natural. When miracles do not occur, something has gone wrong. Miracle principle number 6. Miracles are everyone's right, but purification is necessary first. Number 7. Miracles are a form of healing. Miracles supply a lack, and miracles are performed by those who have more for those who temporarily have less. Miracle principle number 8. Miracles are a kind of exchange. Like all expressions of love, which are always maximal, miracles are a kind of exchange. Like all expressions of love, which are always miraculous in the true sense, the exchange reverses physical laws. Miracle principle number 9. A miracle is a reversal of the physical order, because a miracle brings more love to the giver and the receiver. Number 10. The use of miracles as spectacles to induce belief is wrong. Miracles are really used for and by believers. A miracle is misunderstood when a miracle is regarded as a spectacle. (11) Prayer is the medium of miracles. Prayer is the natural communication between the created and the creator. Through prayer, love is received, and through miracles, love is expressed. 12. Miracles are the effects of thought. Thought can make the lower order or create the higher order. This is the basic distinction between intellectualizing and true thinking. Intellectualizing makes the physical, and true thinking creates the spiritual, and we believe in what we make or create. Miracle principle 13. A miracle is a beginning and an ending. The miracle thus abolishes time. The miracle is always an affirmation of rebirth, which seems to go back, but really goes forward. The miracle undoes the past in the present and thus releases the future. Yet there may still be one more thing, and that is your fear of punishment for what is done now. Everybody makes mistakes, and these errors that everyone makes are completely trivial. When the past has been forgiven, these minor infractions, these completely trivial mistakes, are very easily altered. Miracle principle 14. All miracles attest to truth. Miracles are convincing because miracles arise from conviction. Without conviction, miracles deteriorate into magic. which is mindless and therefore destructive, or rather the uncreative use of mind. 15. Each day should be devoted to miracles. And that's because time was made so that you could use time creatively. Time was made so that you could use time to convince yourself of your own ability to create. Time is a teaching device, and time is a means to an end. And that means that time will cease when time is no longer useful in facilitating learning. Have a good day. Since only eternity is real, why not use the illusion of time constructively? You might remember that, quote, underneath are the everlasting arms, unquote. You should begin each day with the prayer, help me to perform whatever miracles you want of me today. Notes on this course should be read only under good learning conditions. The notes on this course should also be reviewed with the same rule applying to review periods. I'll tell you when, but remember to ask. Miracle Principle 16. Miracles are teaching devices for demonstrating that it is as blessed to give as to receive. Miracles simultaneously increase the reserve of strength in the giver and supply the lack of strength in the receiver. I have forgiven you. I have forgiven you. And because I have forgiven you, says our teacher, that means all hurt and all hate you have ever expressed is canceled. Because I have forgiven you, which means that all hurt and all hate you have ever expressed is canceled. I need the children of light now. And you who live so close to God must not give way to guilt. You who live so close to God must not give way to guilt now. I need the children of light now. So know that you have been forgiven, and know that that means that all hurt and hate you have ever expressed is canceled. The karmic law demands abandonment for abandoning, but you have received mercy, not, quote, justice. You haven't received justice. You have received mercy. Help the children because you love them and because you love God. Remember, a miracle is a spark of life. And remember, a miracle shines through the darkness and brings in the light. You must begin to forget and remember. Miracle Principle number 17. Miracles are the absence of the body. Miracles are sudden shifts into invisibility, which means away from the physical level, and that is why miracles heal. Number 18. A miracle is a service. A miracle is the maximal service one person can render another. A miracle is thus a way of loving your neighbor as yourself. The doer of the miracle recognizes their own and their neighbor's inestimable value simultaneously. And this is why you cannot keep anything you hold against another. If you hold something against another, your own value is no longer inestimable, because you are estimating your value and their value as infinity minus that amount. The amount of what you are keeping and holding against another. While you are holding anything against another and keeping anything against another, your own value is no longer inestimable, because you're estimating your value as infinity minus what you're holding against another. On sexuality. Homosexuality is lacking in love only to the extent that it is based on the principle of exclusion. Everybody should love everybody. It's wrong to deny the beauty of some souls because of body structures of which you are afraid. Denying the beauty of some souls just because of some of their body structures of which you are afraid. This is essentially an unhealthy attempt to limit your fear. But fear cannot be limited, just as love cannot have limits. Heterosexual attitudes can be similarly distorted, but do contain a more natural potential. Sex relations are intended for having children. You have misunderstood sex, because you regard sex as a way of establishing human contact for yourself. You using sex as a way of establishing human contact for yourself has led to body image problems. Children are miracles in their own right. Children already have the gift of life, and their parents provide them with the opportunity to express life. Nothing physical, mental, or spiritual should be used selfishly for yourself. The pleasure from using anything should come from utilizing it for God's will, for love's will, not for something selfishly for yourself. Nothing physical, mental, or spiritual should be used only for yourself, selfishly. The pleasure from using anything should come from utilizing that thing for love's will, for God's will. You should live so that God is free to arrange temporary human constellations as God sees fit. You should live so that God is free to arrange your temporary human constellations as God sees fit. If you have not had children, do not interpret this in terms of guilt. Many children who are already here need spiritual parents. The poor are always with us, and many who are born have not been reborn. Human birth, human maturation, and human development is a microcosmic representation of a much larger process of creation and development of abilities. Human development is subject to error as long as the real purpose of free will is misunderstood and misdirected. The real function of parents is to be wiser than their children in this respect and to teach their children accordingly. Miracles make minds one in love. Miracles are a corporate necessity. Industry depends on cooperation, and cooperation depends on miracles. Note, corporate refers to the body of Christ, which is a way of referring to the church. But the Church of God is merely the sum of the minds God created. This is the corporate body of Christ. The sum of the minds that God created is the body of Christ, the church. Miracle principle number 20. Miracles rest on the law and order of eternity, not the arc of time. Miracle principle number 21. A miracle reawakens the awareness that the spirit and not the body is the altar of truth. The awareness that the spirit and not the body is the altar of truth is the recognition that leads to the healing power of the miracle. Note, your abilities will be very useful when your abilities come under involuntary control rather than involuntary lack of control. Following the right involuntary guide will enable you to recognize both physical and spiritual dangers, and will provide the means for avoiding both physical and spiritual dangers in the most efficient way. This is a case in which the end does justify the means. Note, it is only when means and ends are not of the same order of reality that there is fear. And this fear arises out of the inescapable awareness which you were given by God for all time, that only the appropriate means can work for the different kinds of ends you must accomplish before you can achieve your one end. While there is time, communion and bread are both necessary. Without either communion or bread, you will feel deprived, and you cannot escape this by confusing the two. All depression and all fear and all embarrassment ultimately stem from this confusion. Miracle principle number 22. Miracles are natural expressions of total forgiveness. Through miracles, you affirm your acceptance of God's forgiveness by extending God's forgiveness to others. The second step of extending God's forgiveness to others is inherent in the first step of accepting God's forgiveness. Because light cannot tolerate darkness. Light, by definition, dispels darkness automatically. Miracles are associated with fear only because of the fallacy that darkness can hide. People believe that what they cannot see does not exist. And our physical eyes cannot see in the dark. Trying not to see is a very primitive solution. Trying not to see by closing your eyes is a very primitive solution and has led to a denial of the spiritual eye, which always depends on light. However, remember the biblical statement, quote, "The eyes of the Lord are in every place, beholding the evil and the good," unquote. There are two stages, one lower and one higher, which are involved in the escape from darkness. The first stage of the escape from darkness is the recognition that darkness cannot hide. The recognition that darkness and the ego cannot hide does entail fear. The second recognition, or the second stage in the escape from darkness, the escape from the ego, is the recognition that there is nothing you want to hide, even if you could. The first stage of the escape from darkness is the recognition that fear and ego cannot hide. Darkness cannot hide. The second stage of the escape from darkness and ego is the recognition that there is nothing you want to hide, even if you could. These two stages, these two recognitions of truth, bring escape from fear. As soon as you have completely entered the second phase of the escape from darkness, which is the realization that you don't want to hide, there's nothing you want to hide even if you could, then you will not only be willing to enter into communion, but you will also understand peace and joy. Your commitment to the escape from fear is not yet total. And that's why you still have more to learn than to teach. But when your equilibrium stabilizes, then you will be able to teach as much as you learn. And when you are able to teach as much as you learn, when your equilibrium has stabilized, when your commitment to the escape from fear is total, this will give you the proper sense of balance. Meanwhile, remember that no effort is wasted. And unless you remember that no effort is wasted, then you can't avail yourself of my efforts, says our teacher, which are limitless. Avail yourself of your teacher's efforts, which are limitless, by remembering that no effort is wasted. Note number 6. The biblical teaching that if you are ashamed of me before men, I will be ashamed of you before God, that is interpreted as a threat only as long as you remain at the first stage of the escape from fear. What that biblical teaching really means is that if you are ashamed of me or embarrassed by love, you will project and therefore make it impossible for me to reach you. make every effort that you can not to do this. I will help you as much as you will let me. I will help you as much as you will let me. Miracle principle number 23. Miracles make time and tide wait for all men. Miracles can heal the sick and raise the dead, because you yourself made death and taxes, and you yourself can abolish both. Note that tax also means strain. You are a miracle. God creates only, quote, that which or one who is of surpassing excellence or merit, which is a dictionary definition of miracles. You are a miracle. God creates only miracles. And what are miracles? Miracles is something that is of surpassing excellence or merit.